Oh my God, I'm live. Well, great. I'm going to be talking with Kenneth Jones in a few minutes, and it will be very helpful if I live stream it because I have no idea what I'm going to say. Uh, but it's about the show, so getting ready. I have 10 minutes. I should really put my teeth in. I should. But I do want happy background music. Um, that will be helpful. It's gonna be like this. All right. Now, that's actually fine. Uh, no. Oh, great. Okay, great. Let's just do that, please. Please. I know. Please stop fucking telling me that shit. Ah. No, that's fine. Ah. 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 Fuck. Ay, ay, ay. All right. Ah. Ah.
Your subconscious mind can hold the key to achieve goals. And turn your dreams into reality. And turn your dreams into reality.
Ah. Ah. really want to be able to fucking see. Ah. Yeah. One look nice for Ken. Well, you know, got the glasses, got the teeth. We're all very good. Yeah.
Your subconscious mind can hold the key to achieve goals.
Why do I need to put on
And turn your dreams
the right outfit
into reality,
for a phone call?
into reality.
Oh. Huh. Huh. Oh. Bitch.
Your subconscious mind can hold the key to achieve goals. And turn your dreams into reality.
Yeah, it's very confusing, isn't it? Well, yeah, I wrote a song about it called "Man of a Thousand Faces." I did. It's all about multiplicity, and I wrote it 20 years ago instinctively about multiplicity, and then I've been living that. Yeah, you would have no idea. It's very funny. I just kind of want to acknowledge the inherent weirdness that we're talking. It is weird, in a really good way, I think, but it is weird. And you in particular, you're a writer, and it's a story, and you like stories, and you play a part. That's the weird part. You play a significant role. in the story, and that's why I wanted to call you, because you play a part. And so here's what I'm doing. Why are you calling? Aside from hi, how are you? But before I forget, hi, how are you? Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing, and maybe work backwards and tell you why you're important. I'm doing a show at the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Oh, I was hoping you would. Good. I was secretly hoping you would. It would save us time. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I actually do. I'll tell you the story within the story within the story about a story. But it happened like this. I died. That's true, twice last year. And when I died, without going through all of the trauma and trials and tribulations you have in imagination, I was John Doe. I have a wristband that says John Doe on it. And I was literally homeless and had been for a really long time. And I was in and out of the hospitals over 100 times in 3 years because my neck had been broken. And the disc did not heal right. It was very high up. I'm an anesthesiologist, I can tell you exactly that. So I was wearing a neck brace while being homeless and trying to sing. There was intermittent bleeding in my brain. And so I would start to get shit together, and then I would just collapse in public. And if you collapse in public in LA, there goes your shit. It's gone. And this happened over and over and over again. And they could never find the problem, and blah, blah, blah. And so there was 3 years of that. And then I died. And then I died a second time because I'm homeless, and they released me to the street, and I begged them, please do not release me to the street, I will die. And when they did it a second time, I thought, well, fuck this. So I just went somewhere and hid. I went to Ralph's. I bought the biggest bottle of wine I could. I'm dying. Fuck you people, I've had enough. Done. That's pretty much. And when I woke up a second time at Cedars-Sinai, I was pissed. I was pissed as fuck. And my first reaction was, really? There's more. There's more of this shit? Because I haven't got another 20 years of this shit in me. Is where we are. And they promised me that they were going to send me to recuperative care, and I would not be on the streets anymore, and I would have a chance to heal, and they fixed the bleeding in my brain, and everything's going to be okay. And by the way, a recuperative care doesn't exist, and you'll be going to the Midnight Mission, which is where your neck was broken in the first place. And so there you are, Ken Jones, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and you have been back to life now 3 days. They've lost your clothes at the hospital, and they loan you a pair of fat nurses' culottes because it couldn't be any faggier. It had to be culottes, Ken. But what goes with culottes? Flip-flops and a hoodie. Here's your new life. And 4 bus tokens. But you'll appreciate this, that you maybe, well, you and your ilk. So you know you are a chorus boy when you arrive at the Midnight Mission downtown in your culottes, flip-flops, and hoodie, and you're waiting in line with the rest of everybody who nobody wants. And you're looking around on Skid Row, and the first thing I honestly thought, here it comes, the first thing I honestly thought is, I want to stage the entire thing of Little Shop of Horrors down on Skid Row, and I can use everybody here as my chorus member. Oh, it's going to be great. I'll get on my phone and pour all my life. I've always been poor. And then there I was, waiting in line to go into the Midnight Mission, remembering that I am a ridiculous show queen. And so blah, 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 blah. I eventually qualified for a program called the pilot program. And they give you $500 a month for rent. But you have to go find a roommate. So I go back to the Gay Lesbian Center where I use the computer lab all the time with all the other homeless gay people, because we only know about it, and it's for us. And I ran like an entire business. I ran my massage business from there when I could massage. And then sometimes I was living at the Melrose Bathhouse. And then sometimes, most of the time, I'm living on the bus. But now I'm at the Midnight Mission and I can rent a room. So I go to the Gay and Lesbian Center and I put up a note saying, gay white man, it's the senior center, they're safe. And $500 a month for rent, no smoking, no drinks, no drugs. I smoke, but I lied. But no drugs, except pot, and they don't need to know about that. So this guy named Roger Steele calls me, and I meet him, and he's 87. Yeah, he's from Long Island, and he talks like this. And what do you like? I like Cole Porter. I like to go to piano bars. You like to go to piano bars? Yeah. Do you like to sing? I sing. Well, what do you do? And I never lied to Roger. Here's the point. I never ever lied to Roger. He said, well, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a massage therapist. Where do you work? I have a studio in Beverly Hills, which I did. I rented a studio by the session from this crazy Asian lady, and she took more than half my money. But I had a Beverly Hills studio, and I could make a little money even though I was living on the bus. They never had to know. So I told Roger, well, I'm a massage therapist in Beverly Hills, which was true. And he said, well, where do you live? I live downtown. Oh, all right. Well, it's dangerous down there. You have no idea. And he said, well, I'm going on vacation, but, I go to the Lyric Hyperion all the time. So, come by and see me there. And the Lyric Hyperion is a piano bar. I don't really want to sing again in my life. I thought, if anything, I would do comedy. My voice is crap. I have no teeth. The teeth I'm wearing at the time I meet Roger are the ones I bought at Hollywood Costumes and Props. They cost $20, but they look good from a distance, and that's all I needed if you were a massage therapist in Beverly Hills. If I smile, most of the time you're face down anyway, as long as I had something in my face. But I really didn't think I was going to sing. But Roger wouldn't call me back, and I had to get out of the Midnight Mission. So I started going to the Lyric Hyperion, singing anything I could sing that would convince an 87-year-old man that I was safe to be a roommate. So this started last May, me going there. And then he's on vacation. I didn't get him to sign the lease to get me out of the mission, which I had no idea about. I never told him I was home. But till July. And by that time, I have been showing up at this piano bar, and that piano bar, and this piano bar, and that piano bar, trying to look like I'm successful. Please rent me a room. So he does in July. So by that time, I'm singing, and now I'm meeting people, and maybe I'll do something, and I'm a massage therapist, and blah, blah, blah. And 2 months later, Roger died. I know. Oh my God. So Roger died, but by the time Roger dies, I meet a guy who's like my first friend ever, really, you know, that I can talk to, and I redid his entire garden because he's having a showing, and I was basically living here anyway, and we have all of these cabaret friends now, and he had already had this house tour thing, and it was the logical choice that I would be the one to throw the biggest Roger Still memorial ever. And it was like a 5-hour open mic in the house, and it was great, and it was a celebration of Roger, and it was just so when Roger was dying, he doesn't own a smartphone or a cell phone or anything like that, and everyone so everybody wanted to stay in touch with him, and I had started live streaming everything I was doing. At a certain point, when I arrived last year at the Midnight Mission, I knew it was a story. Like, I knew my life had been improbable and weird and crazy. But at a certain point, I realized I'm in the middle of a story that I couldn't possibly write, but I could possibly direct. And then I started keeping records, everything, on live stream. I videoed everything I did. I live streamed interactions with social workers. I live streamed interaction at the Midnight Mission. I live streamed everything I was doing because I knew it was a story. And in the middle of that story, Roger died, but I ran around to every single piano bar I live streamed and went back to the hospital and got people to go to the hospital and put on because, you know, I'm gay and I was in Manhattan and I know how to go to hospitals. And so there we are, putting on shows for Roger, and it was great. And I got to be there holding his hands, playing his favorite song, When You Die. And that was this amazing moment that I got to be that guy, you know? I got to be the guy who's holding your hand, playing your favorite song, When You Die. I got to be that guy, which was not the guy I signed up to be. I signed up to be the crazy homeless guy who hides in his bedroom. I did not sign up to be blah, blah, blah. So I thought by that time, I had started singing some of my songs because I like them and they won't leave me alone. And now I live indoors, and now it's 20 years later, and now my brain works for the first time, like in a really long, long time. And not knowing why, I thought eventually I would just do some stupid cabaret show like everybody else, and oh, that's very nice, thank you, Trip, goodbye. And then, but I had working on them because I couldn't not work on them. And I had to find a way for these songs to work in cabarets, and I had to reinvent them and make them into swing and make them into jazz waltzes instead of 3/4, whatever. I had to rethink them to work in the environment that I was in. And if I was going to put on a show, how was I going to do it? I had no money. I barely knew anybody, but I could rehearse my show. If I went to 4 open mics a week and had 3 slots at each open mic, and then I could rehearse an entire show in 5-minute segments. And if I did that, then I should really start doing stand-up comedy 2 nights a week and develop the book that way since I have no director. And then the Hollywood Fringe came along. And it was suggested to me, I had reached out to Scott Guy, who's in the Academy for New Music Theater, which is like, you know what it is. It's the West Coast version of BMI. And I was sort of in contact with Scott Guy, and he hadn't heard from me in 12 years either. But I resurfaced briefly after the thing that drove me out from New York, which is part of the show, but who cares? It's too dark to go into. But I resurfaced briefly 12 years ago, met Scott Guy at the Academy for New Music Theater, and then disappeared from there as well. So this January, I reached out to Scott again and said, hi, I've been working on this stuff. I would like to be involved somehow. I would like to meet other people. I'd like to see what your classes are like now, blah, blah, blah. And Scott Guy could not get off the phone fast enough. It was the nicest of what I like to call the LA brush off, but he had anything better to do than to talk to the crazy guy he might have met for 5 minutes 12 years ago or whatever. But he did mention the Hollywood Fringe. Well, I really think that sounds great, and you're really great, and that's really great, and your story's really great, and I believe in you, even though I haven't bothered to watch the video that you sent me, and you're great. I gotta go to the Hollywood Fringe, boy. Click. So I did. I thought, well, fuck you, Scott Guy. I will do the Hollywood Fringe. There was enough time. I had it more. It's just me anyway. I have a ridiculous story to tell. And I have all these great songs that I wrote a really long time ago. Why not? But here's the bottom line of everything. I'm a crazy homeless guy with a brain injury living now in a nice house, patiently waiting to go on disability. I can kind of sing, and I'm funny. What else would you have me do? I have nothing better to do than. So here's where you come in, and the important. Thank you for listening to all of that. Here's where you come in. There are so many ways to tell a story. There are so many ways to do that. I have so many. I mean, it's a multifaceted diamond here. We could do the mental health thing. We could do the homeless thing. We could do the abuse thing. We could do the crazy husband holding me as a hostage for over a year in my basement. We could do that. We could approach it a lot of ways. But I've only got an hour and 20 minutes, and I've got about 10 songs. And I have to tell a really complicated story. And I have to find an anchor, a place to start, a place to build everything around that would make it maybe relevant and would tell a version of a story that's interesting. So here's what I did. Here's what you're going to come in any minute. There was this ridiculous thing going around on Facebook among the tribe that I run around in. And the ridiculous thing that was going around was, hey, everybody, it's Old Headshots Day. Let's all post pictures of our old terrible headshots. And I don't have any. I don't have any headshots. They're all in the dump somewhere, along with everything else. But it occurred to me that I'm doing this show, and I wondered if there wouldn't be a picture of me winning the Harrington Award at BMI. I thought, I'm sure they took pictures, and that was a proud moment for me, and it's the only one I could really think of that I could access through the internet. There's got to be a picture of me somewhere, I thought. So I started looking up the Harrington Award winners. I really hadn't thought about it. I remember what it was. It was $600. And now some of the stuff you're going to hear is very relevant to the show. I started thinking about the Harrington Award and what it meant to me. And it was a big, big deal to me. Because it was the first time that anybody ever acknowledged me for writing. Or usually people acknowledge me because I don't know, it doesn't matter. But it was a big deal to me. And I remember running into Kristen at some point, who I barely knew, but we had shared the award. I knew I shared it with her. She was first year. And Kristen Anderson Lopez. Yeah, she did. She won first year that year, and I won second year. And I ran into her at some point, and I remember I barely remember her except she was very bubbly. And she goes, "Well, we Harrington Award winners have to stick together." Yeah. You can just picture that on stage in a spotlight in an echo chamber. We Harrington Awards have to stick together. Echo, 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 echo. And so I'm going to look it up. I knew I shared it with her. So I looked up the picture, which I'm not in. And the first year winners were Jeff Marks and Robert Lopez, and then Larry Boddicker. And so I'm looking at this award list winners of the Harrington Award winners. And there's Jeff Marks and Robert Lopez. The things went well for them. And oh, look, there's Kristen Anderson Lopez. Well, things went well for her. Where the fuck is Tony Buckley? What the fuck happened to him? And I remembered, and I started thinking I could piece the story around that. Because I remember very vividly, shortly before I saw you briefly 5 years ago, what it was like to watch Frozen when I was living under a bridge and seeing Kristen Anderson Lopez's name there. And then but I also remembered Jeff Marks briefly. There was this really weird thing that happened with Stan I've never really talked about with anyone, but very briefly, it got very dark and very weird, and he went very crazy. And I ended up being held hostage in my basement and drugged up and filmed and broadcast on 4chan, being drugged up and filmed and abused in my basement, in my beautiful house on 60 West 9th Street by my crazy psychotic husband. That's what happened. And I eventually escaped that, but it kind of did make me pretty fucked up for about 15 years. But somewhere in the middle of it, after I had left BMI and we were still I was trying to save the house, whatever, I don't know. But at some point we went to the theater, which we weren't doing anymore, but we did. And I thought, okay, this is normal. I can go to the theater. I'll get back to BMI. I'm not secretly a crack whore, blah, 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 whatever the fuck he was doing to me. And so we go to the theater, and I see this giant poster with this giant emblazoned orange fuzzy circle with a giant Q in the middle of it. Coming soon, Avenue Q. And I saw that poster, and it devastated me. And I said out loud to no one, but someone heard. I said out loud to no one, looking at, this is a theater moment, Ken. I said out loud to myself, well, I guess I can go commit suicide now. And then I don't drink, but I went to the bar and ordered a triple anything and drank it in one gulp and went to sit down next to my miserable psychotic husband and the life that I throw away. When out of nowhere, Jeff Marks, who must have overheard me, or someone did, came up to me at my seat and said, I know things are bad for you right now. He said that, I can tell, but don't worry, Tony. It's just like my song, For Now. And there's Jeff being Jeff, who's about to be Jeff, giving advice to me. It's only temporary. It's only for now, Tony. Yeah, you have no idea what I'm going home to. And that's a sad moment, but there have been these moments that BMI has never really left me, including 5 years ago when I clawed back yet again from under the bridge to eventually rent an apartment or a room in Sunnyside, Queens. When out of nowhere, and I kind of don't think it's an accident, but we're really never going to talk about it, and I did not put together Ken Jones. I did not put together Ken Jones. But I remember you. I could review. I have the email somewhere. But I remember it was very polite and close by, and I thought, good, this will work. I can make a living. And the intent was to go back to BMI. I did go a couple of times. I did make it back there yet again. But nobody knew me, and who was I going to work with, and it was a great idea. But the idea is I'm going into the advanced workshop with a bunch of people I've never met, and there was no way for it to really work. The best way would have been to start completely over, I think, and grow up with another group. But I thought if I stuck with it, for a while, I would find my way. I did think that. But it wasn't going well, and then I got really, really sick, and then I got really sick, and then I had to go to California to get treatment, and then I was almost here, and then I went crazy, and now I'm writing a show, and you play a part in the show, and so the way I want to link together this tragic weirdo history that I am going to make funny. Is by linking it together with, and I start from that picture, really. And it will be my songs and other things that happen, but the structure of the show will, I originally thought, before I was going to sing again, I originally thought I might do like a Moth radio hour, like an open letter to Kristen Anderson Lopez, because there was this thing that happened when you can't tell every sad homeless story, but I want to tell one, and it happens to pertain her. So one of the saddest moments that I ever had in my life was going to see Frozen on Thanksgiving when I was living under a bridge and going to chemo and radiation. That was like that was like this really sad moment for me because, I'm sorry? I was in Long Island at the time. I was in Greenport, Long Island, because I was going to treatment there. And it was Thanksgiving, and I had some money, and I was going to go see a happy Disney movie, and then it was Kristen Anderson Lopez, and then it was like being punched. It was like being punched in the gut so hard that there was a hole left there, and that hole was so black that it turned into a quantum singularity of despair. It was like being punched that way. And it was devastating to me that happened. And because on the one hand, good for her, and on the other hand, I suck. And that was painful. So like years and years later, a few years later, you're wandering around the streets of Los Angeles and you meet some other crazy guy who also likes show tunes. And but he was nuts. But he had a place on Skid Row where he could have an overnight guest 3 nights a week. So I palled around with this other crazy show guy who was nuts, but he liked pot, so that was good, and he liked show tunes, and that was good, and that was kind of a reason, and it was the only place to sleep indoors. So I tell him this sad Frozen story. Well, this was the saddest moment of my life, Frozen, blah, blah, blah. And then like a couple of days later, I'm walking around with this crazy guy, and he says, so I imagine your idea of hell would be having to listen to the soundtrack of Frozen over and over and over again. And I looked at him and I said, why the fuck are you even thinking about what my personal vision of hell might be? And why are you planning the musical score for it? And it was like that. It was like this. So it's raining and it's cold and I have no place to go and there is no TV and it's a 1-room apartment, and he locks himself in the bathroom and plays the score to Frozen over and over and over and over all night. because I had nowhere to go, and he was intentionally torturing me with the saddest story of my life for personal invitation. And these are the people that you run into out there. So there's Kristen Anderson Lopez again. But my only response was that I was trapped in this room and it was raining outside and it was miserable, but I had enough pot and I could rewrite the entire score lyrics to Frozen. And by the time I finished with Let It Glow, Let It Go, and Crack Ho, and Gotta Blow at the top of my lungs in the Skid Row tenement that we were in. If you're going to torture me for 6 hours, I'm going to sing Let It Go at the top of my lungs. Blah, 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 blah. And there's lots of stories. But they all kind of, I can tie them all together with BMI. And you play a role. Yeah, that's a lot. Eventually, in my imagination, here's what happened. I do the Hollywood Fringe and blah, blah, blah. And it's really the first step in a long process. I believe the focus of the story will be the BMI because I can wrap it together and it has names that people have heard of, and that's helpful. And it's kind of a Hollywood story at this point. The later version that I see doing the more important piece, and the one I want to talk to you about, I want to explore the multiplicity and eventually know the multiplicity tale, which I already have songs for, and the other tale. And it's a larger project that will take some time, that really requires somebody smart to talk to who maybe knows a few of the pieces. And I don't know where it came from, except that there must have been a reason that we ran into each other 5 years ago, and that your name would pop into my head as the only person I could maybe get a hold of. And it's just that you sort of are a writer, and I don't really know what you've been doing for 15 years, except from reading your tweets recently. But the idea is to create a real show, and I just need somebody smart to work with. That's where you come in.
It sounds like an incredibly powerful brand that's leading to off-Broadway kind of show, that kind of vibe, personal experience. Just your reincarnation that you're doing now, you just have to figure out what your focus is for that piece. See if that piece then morphs and expands into another piece, or if you're talking about like two separate pieces. I know that for my time and my world and my creative brain, I don't have the time to collaborate on anything, so I'd love to know what you're doing, or I don't know if you want to bounce ideas up there. I'm happy to, see what these people need.
I have a very good idea of the direction I believe it was going to go, or it is going to go. I have a very good idea. I'm just in this. Do you know how, or have you experienced this? Maybe I already said this. When you go to when you go to a cabaret show, right? And they're doing like a tribute to a particular songwriter. Like, I'm doing a show called Sondheim. Inevitably, when the cabaret singer gets in front of the microphone at some point in the show, they will say the following words. They will say, when I first began this journey, and then they talk about putting the show together. When I first began this journey, putting together blah, 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 blah. I would used to sit there and kind of snicker to myself. Yeah, sing the song. That's what I would do. I want to hear about your journey, sing the song. But it is a journey, and it has been this ridiculous journey of I'm going to put together this show and tell you what happened. And the Facebook thing of running into the Harrington Award seemed logical. But I was walking around on my show. I write them out in little things, and I make a map out of them, and then I walk around on them. So I was walking around on my show, and I was realizing that Man of a Thousand Faces, and this other song, I'm Nothing, but I'm All I Think About, and this other song about Mama was a grease fire of despair. You know, and this other song, Breathe, and this other song about therapy, Don't Even Try It. These were songs about me that I was writing about me. It's the same show, really. I just never finished it. Is what it is. I wouldn't even know how to get a hold of anybody. But on the journey of this show, it's forcing me to do things like call people like you and say, here's what happened. And ridiculously, there's this girl that used to go to the Lyric Hyperion. She's friends with everybody there and with my housemate. And she's at BMI doing her first year. Allison Freeman is in the first year of the BMI thing, and now we're friends on Facebook, and I'm watching Allison do the Willy Loman assignment. I know, it's... Attention will be paid! I liked my Willy Loman aria. I did. Oh my God. I don't remember that at all. Oh my. Oh, well, you win. Okay. That's terrible. Well, I'll tell you what I did. I believe the show runs at an hour and 20 minutes. What I did for the Fringe, it's going to be pretty impossible to get a pianist. I have a very small room, but it might. But the way I was going to go was to create tracks, and then I could take the show to the Fringe Festival in San Francisco and the Fringe Festival in New York, and blah blah blah. That was the so the woman who's creating the tracks, who's a dramaturg maybe, but she's not really dramaturging this. We're just kind of friends from the piano bars, but she does tracks, and she's interested. So I invited her over last week, and she said, well, we'll just talk about the show. And I said, we only have so much time, so here's what I do. I'm going to do the entire show for you, a cappella, with no piano, no lights, no blah, 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 no script, blah, 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 and we'll just see how long it runs. So I did. And then I live streamed it on YouTube. And it takes out, right now, it takes an hour and 20 minutes. So it's an hour. It could easily be 4 hours. And if I had to do it in 60 minutes or less, I probably could too. But the goal right now is an hour and 20 minutes, which I think you can. Yes, the lyrics I've had to rewrite and reorchestrate and rethink and blah blah blah. Yes. So yeah.
Do those writers know you're using their work?
It's just me at this point. A lot of my stuff I do myself. So these, yeah, it's correct.
Yeah. Good. Just one thing one thing I would report is the stuff that I write. Now, this isn't just a bitter, vile rant experience. There is hope where there is creativity. And, you know what I mean?
I think
Does your character come out the other end?
Well, clearly, if we're following the life story, if it's based on true experiences, the answer is yes. And if there is a theme, to the show, it is exactly the same thing I had last time. I tried to do this 10 years ago when I had a moment. When I got a review in Cabaret Scenes, I tried to do this 10 years. I had I surface sometimes. And whenever I do a show. And that's weird. If there is a theme, it's the exact same thing I did before and before that and before that. And the theme is determination. It is at the heart of every single thing I've done. It's at the heart of every one of my songs, including the first song I wrote and got me into BMI, which was called Bound and Determined. I knew just what I wanted when I was 17, to wind up in the spotlight, a star of stage and screen. 'Cause my teacher, Mr. Schachter, said I was the finest actor that Millard Fillmore Junior High School ever seen. And then it's this whole song about I was bound and determined and bound to wind up in the spotlight with all my fans around. Use your assets while you got 'em. Let your inhibitions drop. If you start out as a bottom, you could wind up on the top. Blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, and I sang, if you start out as a bottom. I remember auditioning for BMI with that song about Bound and Determined, about this young actor who is bound and determined to make it, but winds up working in a leather bar where he is bound and determined. When I sang, use your assets while you got to let your inhibitions drop. If you start out as a bottom, you can wind up on the top. I sang that for Skip Kinnon, and I wore my tightest white jeans I had and my cock ring, because you always wear your cock ring to an audition. And I don't know if that's why Skip Kinnon let me into the program, but I don't think it hurt. I don't. Because I saw his face drop when I said, you could wind up on the top. He did that. So the whole thing is about determination, and beyond the blah, 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 blah. The whole thing is about determination, and it's about singing your way out of a nightmare. And if I have any story to tell, it's that I'm a crazy guy that fucking died on Skid Row and nobody cared. And that's all very sad. I decided to put on a show, and that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think that's super compelling stuff from what you're saying to me. If you want to do that, is all of the other stuff and the zero stuff and the vision you have of what the world is uniting and you and all that is incredibly powerful. The visual, you want to conquer a world. For me, I'm less interested in the appearance of you putting yourself in relief, comparing yourself to the Lopez's. I wonder if it's even more powerful for you to not mention their names, but to mention that you were in this incubator of talent, and people went to Broadway, people went to Hollywood, people went to Tony's. I wonder if I just don't want it to sound like a bitch fest.
I don't think I understand. I get that. I don't think it is. I absolutely sign up for a very persuasive argument to say momentum at all. That's a very, you can make a very persuasive argument out of that. But you can also make a very hopeful one. That it may have, but the point you would do that for me a while. I've been busy. You know, it took me a little while to get back where I was supposed to be at right about 20 years. But the experience that I'm having personally, the story that I really want to share this year at the Friends, and it's a very important component, is the Roger story. It's the improbability of meeting a Roger who would inadvertently connect me exactly to the place that I really needed to be. And he did it by accident. But I wandered into this little cabaret community that exists in Los Angeles. There are all these little, there's not a lot, but there are these little piano bars where singers go. Some of them are songwriters, and some of them are just cabaret singers, and some of them might have been a something at one time, and some of them might be a something in the future. And you don't know, but it ends up being a very insular, and to borrow from you recently, a little incubator of cabaret talent. And now because of Facebook, they're all connected and they all see each other wherever they go. And it was the... I cobbled together I cobbled together a little network of places where I could go to sing. And if I wanted to create a show, I have a place that I can practice different variations of that show 3 times a week. It took a really ridiculous long time to figure all of that out and to cobble it together and to understand how it, but I can. And it was very improbable that I would meet this old dude. And it wasn't like Roger was a singer. He was this old crusty guy who would sit in the corner and just watch everybody and never say a word. He just liked going, but he did that with everything. He belonged to like 900 different groups, and he was always just the guy in a corner. You know, and it was improbable that we would meet. And it was improbable that I would find accompanists and other singers and a place to do my show. And it was improbable that within a year, you would go from beat up dead guy to the Hollywood Friends with a score, you know? And that's the story I want. And particularly this year, because so many of the people I know, Roger is dear to them. And he just died last year. And if there was any time to do, aside from the memorial, if there was any time to ever tell the Roger story or the impact a person can make on another person without even knowing it, which is really new, you know, he just very, very improbably and inadvertently changed my entire compass, you know, and that's a great story. Yes, it's very strange for me now to live in a house and have a friend who is a housemate and have a garden that I created and have a job that I created. And it's very weird for me now because last year when this was happening, I knew it was going to be a show. I knew that my life was a show. So I started keeping records. And now this year, Facebook reminds me every day, a year ago today, you're still at the Midnight Mission. And so now it's weird being this guy who survived that, watching me go through it again. It's very strange. I'm feeling you need to go, but this was wonderful.
Never happened, but I'm just going to use that muscle and try to do something. But I'm when we met 5 years ago.
It seems to me I'm tracking it back. I think it has to be about 5 years ago because I got really sick again, and then I wound up in California again. I think it's 5 years ago. I want to say it's 2012. Maybe it's 6 years ago. I want to say it's 2000.
I'm sorry I didn't have a bandwidth to get in touch with you, and I wondered what happened to you. And one of my players was raised in Knoxville, Tennessee last year, and JT came to see us. And he said, "Do you know what happened to you? Do you know where you're talking about? Do you know what happened to him?" I said, "I have no idea where he is. I know he was in New York a few years ago, and he seemed very heartbroken. Really wanted to get in touch with you."
Oh, I did. Did I mention that? I did want to get in touch with JT.
JT would love to know what happened to you. His mother said, "Do you know what happened?"
Oh, I love her. She's wonderful.
So that's what he has. He's on Facebook, but I can also try to get his email. Do you have his email address?
Yeah, or if you reach out to him and give him my email or any of that. Yeah, and I'm obviously very active on Facebook. I'm Twitter. I guess I did find you on Twitter, but I sent out a couple trying to find you. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing with. I tried to find at one point too. I don't know why you. There was this strong. So I do this ridiculous Navajo meditate. I'm part Navajo. I have this meditation thing I do before clients, and I'm thinking about the show, and I'm stoned, and I'm meditating, and I don't know what important it was, but immediately I came out of a thing and I wrote down the words, "Call Ken Jones." So maybe I don't think you're. So what? Go ahead. Did you know it was me? Like when you saw. So I just showed up completely randomly. I didn't put it together immediately, but I remember thinking, because I walked over there from where I was living, and I was really happy that I was working that night, and I was very worried that I was going to be able to make a living at all. But I thought if I contacted the local boys, I wouldn't have to pay this studio that I was renting. So I was happy that it was working because I was trying to do this thing where I could find the local Queens boys, and then I wouldn't have to walk, and then I could blah blah blah. So I remember walking over there being very happy to be working, and that the ad worked, and very polite, like you were really ridiculously polite in your correspondence. So I felt good about it. Like I thought, okay, this guy isn't a creep. Because it's Craigslist, and you never know. And I'm so emotionally shut down at that point anyway. I can do a good massage, but don't talk to me. And then I saw the thing, K. Jones, and I kept thinking, why do I know that name? Why is that name bothering me? And the entire time I'm doing the massage, all I'm thinking about is Kate Jones. Kate Jones. Who's and then I think in the middle of this massage, I finally put it together with like, oh my God, it's Kenneth Jones. Yeah. No, we talked a little bit. I asked about you. You said you still got together with whoever Stockstill, and whoever. And I remember making a note of that, thinking, okay, maybe I could go out with these guys and get reconnected that way. I remember thinking that the entire goal of getting back to New York was to go back to BMI. So JT would be great. I don't think there's.
Give me your email address.
Oh, it's very easy. Brooklyn Boy in LA. And it's INLA. Brooklyn Boy in LA at Gmail.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Do you know my Tony address or Tony or what?
It's weird. Right now in my day-to-day operations, it's Trip. It has been Trip for a pretty long time. The story to tell in multiplicity is very technical, but Tony died, and he died in Rock Island, Illinois. So he died, and that was chaos. And eventually, Chip was elected. But the entire time I was homeless in Los Angeles, I was Solomon. I was. Yeah, Trip would be just easier for everyone, I think, at this point. But it won't hurt. But it won't hurt my feelings or make me mad if you slip up. That doesn't bother me.
Yeah, are you legally Trip?
I will be, but not yet. No. Yes, of course I will. I'll tell you what I'm really happy about is that it was a very good massage encounter, and it was very intimate, I thought, and it was very healing, I thought. At least I did feel that, and I'm really glad that it was very intimate without being inappropriate. I liked being very close to you without ever having to be embarrassed about anything that we did. I like the fact that it was very clean, but it was very lovely. And I like the fact that we both get to talk about it in a nice way to no one else.
Yeah, I totally agree. And but I got a chance to that I was up here for 1 year ago, and it was a really hard time for my mom. She died last month, actually.
Oh.
But it was just a very, it was just a moment. It's like, wow, you just have these moments with people that you brush up against. That was very cool.
That was very cool. That's why I could. Oh yeah, please do. I have lots of material. I have lots of material that I can send you, and I'm kind of, or whoever, to begin to reconnect with some of these people and create this idea of excitement. So by the time a year and a half from now, when Return Trip goes to the New York Fringe Festival, blah, blah, blah. How is my health? Well, they removed the cancer, which was in kind of an embarrassing area. So overall, my health is ridiculously excellent, but it is only excellent because I am a kinesiologist, and I did get a degree at New York University in sports medicine before I went to study with a shaman on a Navajo reservation. I did do that, and I know what to do in physical therapy, and so my day starts every day, including today, about 5 in the morning with the bouncy ball and the stretches and the and I had 3 broken fingers. All of the bones in the right side of my face had been broken. My C3 disc had been broken, causing the bleeding in the brain. My right knee, I couldn't walk upstairs, and I would wake up every morning, according to my housemate. I have night terrors, and I would wake up every morning screaming. But I have been working at my body, fixing my body, because I'm an expert, for a year, every day. So my body works now. I can't make my hands play piano anymore. I can't make my right hand play. That's very frustrating. So that's good. The mental health thing is very weird for me right now because I feel exactly the same, at least in terms of here's what I want to do, here's how I'm going to do it. I feel exactly the same as I felt 20 years ago when I was a trophy boy to a millionaire and had my beautiful Fire Island home and my beautiful house in the city. And I was writing shows and it was going to be great. Weirdly, I feel exactly the same way as I did then. It's different, and there are palm trees instead of skyscrapers, but it's not all that different.
Yeah. The bleeding in your brain is not as before?
No, I have not been hospitalized in over a year, which is a record. The cancer. Yeah, no, the neck is great, but it's because I've worked on it nonstop. For the moment, there are but the plumbing is all fucked up. So going to the bathroom is a fucking nightmare. It's like an immersive theater experience where you're combining being and blah blah blah. I don't know, but yeah, no, it all works. It's just not happening. But it does. I'm sorry about your mom and Mother's Day yesterday. That must have been hard.
Yeah, thanks.
I think so too. And you were there. All right, Greg. Somebody has to hang up sometime. It was very helpful for me. It was very helpful for me to hear myself talk about me to you. Bye. Huh. Huh. Oh, I completely forgot. I am live streaming. That was very smart. I'm a smart guy.